Good evening, my ghosts and goblins. Today's video is going to be about Midnight Ghost Hunt, a fantastic game that's just hit Steam. We're going to be going over the hunter's weapons and what they do and how you can use them correctly. First up, we have the Spectral Cannon, and look at this cool design. Whatever this thing is, I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is that just because it's the first game that you get as a hunter, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good. With its splash damage, you can make those meddling ghosts think twice before laughing at you for using it. Your other hunters, though, not so much. Helpful for when tiny props are hiding from you in a spot that you just can't seem to get to. Shooting indiscriminately also really helps. Next up, we have the Salt Shotgun, which is my personal favorite. It's time to feel like Sam and Dean Winchester while you run around the map hunting those pesky ghosts. While it only has a 2-shell capability, its knockback is amazing and shines best after midnight, more for when you're hunting the props before midnight. But don't let that fool you, it can still work really well. You can use the spread to find props that are hidden in clusters, and for a shotgun, it's got some pretty far reach. Although you might be only doing 3 or 4 damage, it's well worth it just to give those props a good little shock on the bottom and remind you that you are still on the hunt and you will get them. Ghostsmasher is a rather unique one. It is one of only 2 melee weapons in the game at this time. While it's better to use it when you're hitting ghosts in their spectral form than when they're in a prop, it still does a decent damage while they're in a prop compared to the Sledgehammer. While you're using melee weapons in this, don't forget that the ghosts can use corruption, which we'll go over in another video, and that can really make a masher of your day. And now it's time for the other side of the coin, the Sledgehammer. Although the Ghostsmasher does really good about spectral, this one does really good about props. But be careful, if they jump out, you're only going to be doing very small chip damage, and that will not help you towards the end. I feel like the Sledgehammer could use a buff and might receive one here in the upcoming patches of the game. It is still in early access after all. But if you want to use that Sledgehammer, could I tell you to maybe go to the gym and not have some spaghetti arms like your hunter seems to do? 'Cause yikes. Now if you like the big guns, do we have something for you? Project X is the LMG of the game with a fire rate that grows as you fire. No magazine, but an overheat mechanic that seems pretty well balanced in all sense of the game. Be careful not to let it overheat, as it'll put you out in the fight for a moment as you literally get caught on fire. This gun can put out a lot of damage quickly, and you'll use it best when after midnight. Don't worry, you can still hunt with it too. It's actually better for hunting since you don't have to worry so much about overheating and not fighting for your life like after midnight. If you want to put down the most amount of hate in the shortest amount of time, Project X is there for you. It's also got slight amount of splash damage, not near as much as the Spectral Cannon, but you can see here, it'll do a little bit of splash damage. For the next of our cobbled together weapons, we have the Frostbite SMG. Now at first glance, I thought this would be my go-to gun for the rest of the game as a hunter. It's the first gun I unlocked. With it slowing the ghost while using the Frostbite condition, and the high fire rate, it can really do some major damage to those pesky ghosts you're hunting, especially after the latest update. When probing props, however, you need to be careful as the weapon only damages something after the Frostbite condition is set. So you have to put a couple rounds into the target before you can confirm if it's a ghost or if it's just a static prop. Now, if you want some real fun, slap on some extra ammo and just go to town. The Reaper, the game's only single target weapon. This sniper rifle of the game is rather dangerous in the right hands and worth the time to take to learn it. The weapon round does some additional damage and a very short damage over time before exploding, doing the biggest amount of damage to the target. This can help you a lot if the prop is ran around the corner after you've already hit it, and it's rather weak. It's also extremely useful for those maps where props fly around with their ghostly throw, and maybe try and miasma your generator. Hit it once, have it damage over time, and then let it fly away as it explodes one more time, letting you know exactly where it's going, as the health bar will stay above its head. Now, does this also remind anybody else of the bolt-action pipe rifle from Fallout 4? Or is that just me? Just me? Okay. If not, let me know in the comments, because I'm fully convinced. Even though it's a sniper rifle, its hipfire accuracy rather, damage remains the same. Hipfire accuracy is pretty good. You can see the little crosshairs there while you're aiming through the scope. If you hit S while you're right after you're running after something, it'll go back and you can do a real clean shot while hip firing. Now here's a fun one for all you new hunters out there. Say you have a prop that's just running around all over and you just can't seem to get them to stand still long enough for you and your team to just blast them away. Well, if you use the Harpoon Bazooka, patent pending, now you can fire and forget as they get dragged kicking and screaming to their ghostly demise. That is, towards you. This weapon, although only fires one harpoon at a time and a slow in-the-moment reload animation, can both help and hurt you. As the ghost is pulled towards you, it can't jump into a prop or fly away, but that doesn't mean it can't smack you around as it's now tethered to you. Be careful out there. Some ghosts hold a grudge. Do you miss those Call of Duty days? Run around with this Riot Shield and you might just get that jolt of nostalgia running through your veins. Although mostly a defensive weapon, it can do some minor chip damage during a shield bash. However, it can only take a couple of hits until it has to cool down, however that works. I guess your person doesn't do arm day at the gym or something. Seems to be a reoccurring thing. Maybe you can use this as you prep for midnight and you don't want to rely on your teammates to help you. Or you just have no faith in them. They might be dead after all. Now who doesn't want to be a pyromaniac deep down and just burn everything down to the ground? Just me? Well, that's not good. The final weapon of the Hunter's arsenal is the classic Flamethrower. Wait, is that a blender on top? Oh, what? That's so confusing. And green fire, that's interesting right there. Ghosts and stuff, I guess. Well, you can just imagine that there's spiders and you decide to burn the whole place down, and here's some things to know. Firstly, is that the fire does take damage. It's great for area of effect on large amounts of props, but just like the Frostbite, it takes a couple of seconds to see that red health bar of a ghost pop up. So while you're jamming out to Disco Inferno, just remember to keep an eye on those props. One of them might just be safe from your burns after all. I've seen it many times. Keep an eye on them. And after you hit them, just keep burning away. Well, that about does it for the weapons the hunters have. Why don't you comment down below what your favorite to use is. Until next time, I'll see you at midnight.